right, guys. Well, we are right here at noon, at 12 noon, so we're going to go ahead and start the meeting. So first of all, I want to say welcome everybody to this workshop. I am really, really excited about this particular workshop, guys. Um, this is a little bit of a departure. A lot of times on our workshops, we've always been talking directly about real estate investing. And we come from it from a standpoint of we're trying to give you the means to build a business in real estate and investments. And we wanted to start this year with intention of having what we call the Foundation Series. And so we're covering a number of different topics that I feel are foundational to being successful in that business. We've covered credit, we've covered how to find homes, how to get leads. But one of the things that I think is overlooked a lot is how we are ourselves. How are we doing? The one great limiting factor we have, we can only succeed as far as we're capable of succeeding. So in other words, if your health isn't good, that's going to detract from you having as much success as you could. If your mind isn't right, if you're not in the right mindset, that can also affect you. Things that can detract from that might be in your relationship or your finances and different areas of like that. All four of my guests today have had a huge impact on me personally and helped me to overcome really big obstacles in my life. Not to say I'm all through it already, because I don't know if I'll ever be at that point. It's a work in progress, you know. I think that our life goes in a little bit of ebbs and flows. And so sometimes you might be on a great track, you think nothing's going to derail you, then wham, you get smacked out of nowhere with something. And so it's being able to overcome those moments that will lead to our future success. And I want to start out a little bit highlighting some of my relationship with our first guests, which are going to be Joel and Jessica Gandara. And about a year, maybe a little bit over a year ago, I was going through a personal crisis. And I had felt like I had, and those of you who have known me a long time, you've heard quite a story for the last 10 years. And I felt, wow, I've overcome this, I've overcome that. And then I just got walloped with a couple of areas in my life, and I was devastated. I was brought down. I was brought down low. And I thought, man, I'm doing everything I can. I can't figure out what could I do differently? What could make a difference? And a friend of mine, an associate, said, man, you got to take this. I want you to get this book and take this course. And well, you know, I kind of like heard him and I like, how is this going to affect me? Because I've done, I don't know how many different programs, like, you know, whatever, you know, but he wouldn't let up. He wouldn't let up. He made me do it. And I literally like first couple of weeks, I didn't do anything. It took me about 2 weeks to say, okay, all right, fine, I'll do it. You know, and so I got into it. And the first day, the question was, you know, why are you here? And I was in such a bad spot that I did not know my why. My answer was, I guess I'm trying to find my why. So anyway, I just want to show you a clip. And this is my testimony that I made. Was filmed live during the course that I took. And so this is just a testimony. I'm going to share this real quick with everybody because it'll share my personal journey here. Okay. Can everybody see that? Can everybody see the screen right now?
Yeah.
Now what I'm trying to do is just get it to play. There it is.
I wonder what else? Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. Awesome. Thanks, Dr. John, close it out. Hey, thank you so much. So first, I just want to say absolutely unbelievable the progress that I feel in life in the last course. It's absolutely what I needed. See why everybody takes it multiple times. First, I was like, what's going on with that? But every single day, I've been getting something mind-blowing that has opened the doors so I can have more clarity, more ideas of what I need to work on, what I'm missing, what I haven't been doing, what I need to need to make, why I'm having the problem that I'm facing. What has happened for me has been absolutely transformative. When I began on here, as I mentioned, I was going through a crisis. The crisis has, I stated that I didn't know my why. I was here to find my why. I have found my why. I know where I'm going. I have clarity on what I want to do, what I want to achieve, who I am, where I'm going, what I need to do, what I need to fix, and what actions I need to take to do it. And I'm doing it every day.
All right. So that for me, was my personal testimony. Now, some of you have seen the journey that I embarked on and started during that class. So during that class, one of the days that they have you do is they have you, Joel asks us to set up a physical challenge that is beyond our present ability to do, right? So my mind, knowing that I'm a really determined individual, I felt like saying anything less, like a half marathon or marathon was like, well, I could fake that. I could just, I'll find a way to do it. I could just half-ass it and get through, And so my crazy self says, well, what could I really not do? So I'm thinking in my brain, he's asking me, set something so far up there that you really can't even contemplate doing it, successfully. And, I had listened to Goggins, David Goggins, so it's partly his fault too. So, he did this 100-mile marathon, right? 100 miles. Now I'm 58 years old. I'm overweight. At this point, I was only running I could go maybe a half mile, a mile without having to stop. And so I decided that I was going to do a 100-mile marathon, guys, and I actually enrolled in it. Just going to show you a little bit of clip of that because I'm really super excited about it. And I run that, and I wanted to time this with this because of I've had so much transition to get there. All right. And that's the tie-in. And I run this race. I leave for it 7 days from today. And the actual race is 9 days and I think 11 hours right now. So I'm going to share that real quick, and then we're going to get on with having Joel and Jessica start presenting. Right. Sorry, wrong slide. All right, so this is the it's called the Keys 100. This is the actual race I'm doing. I'm just going to play a real short little clip from what it's going to be about so you can get an idea of what I'm planning to do. Make that full screen for us.
The word key is a corruption of the Spanish cayo, meaning island. No island in the South Seas or Central America seems more tropical. The Florida Keys extend southwestward from Miami to Key West, which is about 130 miles from Miami. of the Florida East Coast Railroad extended its line to Key West.
No, usually there's nobody there. And then
All right, guys. So hang on a minute here.
go to the crowd because I got somebody doing crowd after you.
Yeah, I'm 5 minutes in there, babe.
Can everyone mute?
I know. That's why I say go to the
Sorry,
crowd.
everybody. Couldn't hear what's happening on your side. So a few people were muted. I couldn't figure out how to do it while I was playing at the same time. I'm going to mute everyone one by one because I don't see a way to do everyone. All right, so I'm going to mute everybody but Jessica and Joel. Joel, you're muted. And then I'm going to turn this over to Joel and Jessica real quick to let them start presenting their program and what it meant for them.
Thanks, John. You see my screen?
Yep.
First of all, John, as a long distance runner in the past, I commend you. I never ran 100 miles. I've run 30-something mile races, but never 100. That is tough, man. And to do it at 58 years old, you give us all a lot of hope. I hope to. Yeah, that's amazing. So we hope to hear success from that run. All right, everybody, thanks for joining us. We're not going to take a lot of your time. We're pretty quick. I'm Joel Gandara, and this is my wife,
Jessica Gandara. Nice to meet you.
And we're going to talk about unlocking growth from surviving to thriving. That's us. That's us and our 4 kids. We've been married for about to be 23 years next month. And here we go, Jessica.
So what if we told you the only thing standing between surviving and thriving is one bold decision?
And the question that we have for you is, are you surviving in life? Are you really building the life that you really want? There's a difference there.
Mm-hmm.
A little bit about
us. So just for the record, I'm going to be starting a meeting after this call, so we're separate. So I have no control of the presentation Joel does, and we're going to kind of bounce off each other. So bear with us. A little bit about us. We've been married, like he said, for almost 23 years. In June, I was a baby. I was 21 years old, and he was 26.
So you can do the math and figure out how old she is now. So we met on something very old called America Online a long time ago when the internet was brand new. And to make it even more complicated, I was in California and she was in Florida, and yet it worked.
We made it happen. I've been an RN since 2003. I still have my license, although I don't actively work as an RN, but I do still have my license.
And I've built a few businesses and retired a couple of years ago when I sold those businesses.
As you saw, we have our 4 kids ranging from ages 20 to 11.
And so far, it probably sounds pretty good, right? Built some multi-million-dollar businesses, made a lot of money, sold those companies, got a lot of money, but it wasn't always good. And we're going to show you that. We lost it financially, everything. As we were building, things happen. You guys want to mute yourself because we hear your personal conversations. So we've lost it all a couple of times. And so we want to point that out because it's going to have a little bit
and for the record, we didn't lose it because we were being, wasteful and spending and celebrating, all our money, but it was investing and things that had the crash and all these things that happened that affected us. So
yeah, real estate crash of 2008. We had a lot of properties and 7 figures in properties, lost a lot. So here we go. Go ahead, Jessica.
All right. So we asked you earlier, are you surviving your life or building the one you really want?
So do you have the life that you want? Ask yourself right now, what's missing from your life? Do you have it? Here's where we're going to brag a little bit.
We do.
And so are we lucky? Jessica and I absolutely have the life that we want. We wouldn't change a thing. We wouldn't need to raise our income in any way. We wouldn't change anything about our kids, our lives. We're in a very good spot. Now, that sounds super cocky, right? We must have been just born with a silver spoon in our hands, and we must have been given everything. And life, we live down here in South Florida. We're absolutely living a dream life. Must have always been that way, right?
So no, obviously it wasn't. And many things shaped my life and led me to where I am today. One of the big things was this right here, the thyroid. I don't know how many of you are familiar with the thyroid, but I was asked to get a history and physical when I was 15 years old to go to Busch Gardens, which is an amusement park here in South Florida. So they needed this physical for me to ride roller coasters. So no problem. Went to the pediatrician, scheduled the physical, and during the physical, upon assessment, they felt a little something. The pediatrician felt something, and the pediatrician was very close to my family. And 2 years prior, my aunt had thyroid cancer. So he felt the lump, and immediately he went into like, panic mode, like, okay, we got to figure out what's going on. Well, by the end of the week, between ultrasounds and biopsies, I was diagnosed with cancer. And I just wanted to go on a roller coaster. So that was very mind-blowing. That was life-changing. My mom and my family, I mean, it changed my trajectory. I wanted to be a teacher, and immediately I became fascinated with the whole healthcare system and your body, and I changed my major to be nursing. It just changed every aspect of my life. I became very serious, very mature for my age. I stopped partying with my friends. I just wanted to be home with my family, which is why I got married so young at 21. I wanted to start my life and take care of business. And if that wasn't bad enough to have cancer at 15, then I can tell you that months before my diagnosis, I had a very big milestone birthday, right? My quinceañera, my 15th birthday party. For Latinos, that's a big deal. It's equivalent to a 16, sweet 16 for the Americans. And unfortunately, I had to do that without my dad. So my mom and dad divorced when I was 2, and I was doing the back and forth with, on the weekends with my dad. And I'm the type of person that doesn't like to cause waves. I like peace, and I try to do anything I can so that no one's upset with me. And going every other weekend, I was missing out on these types of parties. The quinceañeras, my friends were all turning the same age, having these big parties. And in order to not upset my dad and tell him, can you not pick me up this weekend? I would just not go to the parties because I wanted to keep the peace. I finally gathered some courage, and I couldn't even face my dad. I had to write him a letter and just explain, like, hey, every time I go over your house on the weekends, I appreciate going, but you're so busy at work, which he was a gas station manager, that he would send me off to my grandmother's house, which was miserable. And I would be there all weekend, so I wouldn't see him anyway. So in this letter, I just wrote, instead of doing the whole weekend thing, why don't you come get me on the days that you have off, and we'll have dinner, we'll go to a movie, we'll hang out at the house, but it's not a whole weekend commitment. Well, that was the last time I spoke to him. So, yeah.
And that happened right before you got cancer. So
yeah,
your
so
dad...
well, now it's a long story. We still don't have a great relationship. We have spoken, but he came to find out about the cancer years later, because I didn't want to let him know, and I didn't want a pity party from him.
Yeah, by then he had already missed our wedding. He knew nothing about us. So we'll go on. I'll tell you a little bit about me. Always had it made, right? Probably always lived this dream life that we're living right now. Not quite. That's my house back there. Not that whole building. The one on the right was my aunt's house. We lived back there where that lady's standing. This is in the third world, communist Cuba, very poor neighborhood in Havana. That's where I was born. That's the house my dad grew up in, and his siblings. And that's where I grew up. And very, very modest. Electricity would go out. Food would lack. Zero freedom of speech or expression, or no liberties, communism. So as poor as it can get, until the day, 1980, Mariel boat lifts, where we had a massive exodus of 125,000 Cubans. The U.S. opened its arms, and some of us came here. Some lost their lives in these boats. Our boat was just like that one. And one of the toughest things I've been through, I've had some moments, and that was one of them, because for a small kid to be in a boat, it didn't look like that as far as how calm the seas were. We were in there for 12 hours, and 4 of those hours were the roughest seas you can imagine. Boat would go up, it would slam down, 4 walls of water. It felt like water was coming in. There's people crying, screaming, yelling. Really, really bad. So that's the odyssey that I began with, but I made it. That picture was my first picture in the United States. And as you can see, I'm very fortunate that my mom kept that picture, because I framed it and I put it back there. It's the only shirt I had for a while when we got here. So I grew up near Oakland, California, minutes from it, in a very bad neighborhood, very poor. And even though my parents, they were hardworking people, they started without the language. So they started at the bottom. We didn't make a lot of money. We just survived. We just had enough food. We just had enough clothing. My parents did not spend money. We never went on a vacation. It was always a very simple life. The downside of growing up very poor is that oftentimes you live in a very bad neighborhood. And that happened to us. We lived in a very bad neighborhood, and my role models weren't necessarily good ones. I remember one of the most successful guys that we knew in the neighborhood that we all looked up to, all the kids, was Beto. Beto was this drug dealer on the corner, and he had the nicest cars and clothes, and girls would hang out with him, and he had all these friends. I never got into selling drugs or anything, but I did go in the wrong direction. And I ended up in a room with guys like this, arrested for doing stupid stuff, because it's kind of what I knew. I mean, my parents didn't teach me that. They definitely showed me the right way to do things. But the temptation of, man, I got to get out of this ghetto. I got to make some money. So a couple of times I got arrested. And those were life changers for me. First time I said, I will never steal again. I never have. Second time I said, okay, I'm never doing anything like this again. I stopped doing that. Never gotten in trouble again. It's been a lot of years, but man, those moments mark you. And there've been some turnarounds in our lives. I don't hang out with guys like that anymore. I hang out with guys like this. This is at the Miami airport this weekend, Sunday, 12 of us from the Brotherhood men's group. We went down to Bolivia for 9 days and worked on climbing a big mountain. And now we get to hang around with really positive people. And I'm honored that I get to lead a group like this.
So we didn't start on top. We didn't have silver spoons, like Joel said. We've hit rock bottom financially a couple times, but we decided not to stay there.
And we've been thrown some lemons, from cancer to losing it all, everything we have ever worked for. When Jessica mentioned the crash in 2008, we had 6 properties. And this is, 2 poor kids who were just saving every dollar. Jessica was working overnight shifts, overtime at the hospital, so we could put down payments on real estate. And I was working 2 jobs and building a little side business. And we put 20 to 33% down on every property and lost everything. I mean, we were in bad shape. We had $1 million net worth on paper, and it went to negative net worth. So yeah, we've been throwing some lemons, and over the years, we've learned some steps to make lemonade out of it.
But we could have been victims, right? We could have just used those as excuses and had that just anchor us and define us, but we didn't. We choose not to be a victim of our circumstances.
So we're going to share with you our signature system. It's in our system. Is legit. It works. It's what we walk. It's one of the many things we do in our 31-day challenge program that we run, that John talked about and said it was impactful.
This is some motivational.
Hey, Sean's iPhone. Glad you're motivated.
Oh,
You're not muted. Here we go. So this is what we do. It's our 31-day program. It's on 31dailychallenges.com. As you can see down there, there's a men's challenge. There's a women's challenge. You could probably guess who runs each of those.
And what happens when you work with us? John mentioned it immediately, and it's clarity, right? You get clarity, you get direction because you're focused. Personal accountability system, and we'll talk more about that in a few minutes. Bold action and momentum, and deep personal breakthroughs.
Okay. So like I said, this is one of the many things that we do. And look how simple this is going to sound.
See, not revolutionary. Let's just say that.
We're not that smart. People read these massive books and they want to get so much out of it. And then that book sits there and collects dust and they don't do anything because they want to be blown away with the next big idea, which guess what? They're not going to execute. Most people don't even read the books that they have on their shelf. Most books go unread. So the ones they do read, they put into action very few steps. Our books are very thin. You read for 3 to 5 minutes a day. We're going to give you an example of a life-changing event. And then we're going to offer you something at the end of this completely free. Number 1, establish a goal. You know about SMART goals? Go make the goal. Number 2, make an action plan for that goal. Because a big goal sitting there, John running 100 miles in the Keys in a few days, a great goal. But what's the action plan? He's been taking an action plan. He's been training for it, right? And here is a very big one. It's why it's in red. It's to have an accountability partner. If no one's going to care or know what day you're going to run that race, John, you could stay in bed that day. But guess what? You've got too many accountability partners. You got the men in the Brotherhood all knowing what you're going to do, and you're not going to let us down. And lastly, you got to do what John's doing. You got to get to work. You got to train and do the things that you said you want to do. And by the way, establish that goal. Nobody forces it on you. It's what you want to do. And the rest is going to happen because you do the work.
And now all of you know, well, I'm sure most of you know these faces. They're all these self-help gurus. Now, I've been to the Tony Robbins and I've listened to Jack Canfield and done all these things, but I think the thing that's missing, the secret sauce is what Joel said, is the accountability. I don't see Tony Robbins calling you, checking up on you and asking if you've done XYZ that you said you were going to do. So that's what sets us apart. We challenge comfort zones. We're not here to make friends. We want to see you succeed. Our philosophy is not have big action steps to get big results. That is not our philosophy. Our philosophy is consistent, tiny actions so you can get results. Because success builds on success, right?
And it's so much more sustainable. All right. So here we can talk about things till we're blue in the face, but like Jessica's saying, it's all about action. And this isn't to be scary and intimidating. I don't tell anybody, go run 100 miles. I didn't tell John to go do that. I said, hey, John, go pick something that you think is going to be meaningful for you. And he chose it, and he chose a big one. But, you know, he's worked his way up to that.
And one of the best actions we can take is physical, like John. That's very
Absolutely.
physical.
Absolutely. I don't know if I'm muted or not, but
No, we hear you.
No, you're good. You're good.
absolutely.
Joel, why is physical action?
Yeah, so here's why it matters. Again, most books are going to give you great information about business, investing, health, wealth, relationships, whatever you want. But when you mix physical action in there, it builds discipline. That discipline is going to carry over into your life. If you're getting up 5 days a week and running 2 miles or walking 2 miles or whatever it is, pretty soon the actions that you take in business, investing, work, relationships with your spouse, with your kids, it's going to carry over, and it creates a momentum. You're just getting started. You're starting to see like, oh, things are starting to happen. Some juices are moving, right? There's a mind-body connection, and it is legitimate. You'll be firing on all cylinders if you're incorporating movement, getting out in the sun with work. Feel-good chemicals, everybody knows that. Look, when people do our 31-day program, they tell us it's almost like everyone in my life is showing up differently. They're not. You're showing up differently. Maybe they're responding and they're giving you back that positive energy that you're letting out. A lot of that, I'll tell you some of the tricks, is get people to start moving. They don't have to run a 100-mile race like John. That's amazing. But they could just go for a walk, a 20-minute walk every day, and something starts happening that magically people feel better. And you're going to start seeing real life results and asking yourself, if I can do this, what else can I do with my life? And it, like Jessica said, success builds on success. Jessica, let me keep the mic for a second.
Yep.
All right, I'm not going to play 20 videos. I have a couple hundred videos maybe of people telling how this program has changed their life, health, wealth, relationships, money, all the great things. By a show of hands, John.
A few names I recognize here.
I recognize some names. Okay, let's do this. By a show of hands, just with a thumb, if this program, you've taken it and it has absolutely changed your life, improved your life, give us a thumbs up. There's a few. Good. I appreciate that. I just saved us like 10 minutes of playing testimonial videos.
It took me a while to find my thumbs up, but thumbs up.
So
Can't find mine.
So simple action step for today, because again, it's all about action. We're going to ask you to do one simple step today, one bold move in 24 hours. Text the person you need to text, make a call, do what you have to do that makes that needle move forward one step.
And here we go. Here's the thing we told you we're going to offer you for free. For the next 24 hours, Jessica and I are your free accountability coach.
Wow.
It's 24 hours. So, and we are to the precise minute. So I'm going to tell you tomorrow at 12:28 p.m. After that, we won't answer. But for the next 24 hours, at least I won't. I don't know about Jessica. If you're a guy and you have Instagram, scan that and follow me on Instagram. If you're a girl, scan that and follow Jessica on Instagram. Feel free to follow us both if you want, but I work only with men. She works only with women. And all you have to do is message us on Instagram and tell us what you want to accomplish, what you're going to do.
And what the step that you're going to take is. So if you're going to write to me and say, I want to lose weight, that's great, but I need something more specific. I want to lose 10 pounds in a month. And today I'm going to buy a scale. Great. There's your action. That's the first step.
Today, I'm going to throw away all the sugary snacks and that I don't need in my house, whatever it is. So count on us. We will be the ones replying. We don't have people that answer our messages for us. I'm there. Jessica's there. And if you want not just an accountability for a partner for a day, you want to do this with us for 31 days. All these people said it changed their life. It costs $200 and the book's $20. If you put in the effort and it doesn't have a major impact on your life, positive, we'll give you the $200 back. It's on the website. We guarantee that. Over 500 people over the last 2 years have done it. Nobody's asked for their money back. There's a QR code there. It takes you to 31dailychallenges.com. Next week, we start the next class. It's virtual. If you order today, the book goes out in the mail today, and you'll have it just in time to get started with us next Wednesday.
Now, it's not a magical program in the sense that if you sign up, your life is going to change. I mean, you have to put in the work. We can't stress enough that it's what you make of it. It's your action that is going to make the difference.
So ask yourself this. If you think that something like this would help you, you can say, well, yeah, someday I'm going to do that. Why? Why wait someday? Jessica and I can tell you that the changes that have happened in our lives, building multi-million-dollar businesses, having great relationship with our 4 kids, having a phenomenal relationship with each other, all the things that we've worked toward in our life have happened because we didn't wait until tomorrow. We said, I like how that sounds. I think that's the right direction for me. And if that calls to you, take action. We don't need your money, but we don't do it for free because then people don't try. So it's $200. The QR code is right there. Sign up if that's for you. Thanks, John, and thanks everybody, and thanks, Jessica.
Awesome. Yeah, if you guys want to stick around for just a second, I'm going to stop your share and then just open it up for just a few minutes and maybe some questions with you guys before we get on to the next one. And I want to share just a couple things to just have a little dialogue with you. So I know all the speakers participated in programs of theirs, and most recently in Joel's program, which was a subset of the other one called the Men's Protocol. But one of the things I want to say that was so revolutionary for me, and why it was so helpful, is so often when you get into a certain spot, you aren't capable of seeing what you need to do yourself. And one of the unique things that I found in the program was that each day I was being introduced to something I could work on. And for me, I found several that were absolutely revolutionary for me. You know, and I mean, all 31, maybe not, but 3, 4, 5. And really those compound on each other. And I really love the point you made, Joel, about the mind connection, mind, body, and spirit connections. We'll be bringing on with Robert here shortly. But the thing is that what I found is that if one area is doing bad, that the other one can jumpstart the other one and get it back on track. So, and it's really, and one of the things that I found is that being able to get your body going right in that physical part, when everything else is going wrong, I have control of one thing. I can control what I eat and I control what I do with my body. And somehow that would reset things so that I'm all of a sudden doing better somewhere else. And so it was really good stuff. It really helped me so much. You can't say enough about it. But anyway, if anybody would have any direct questions for Joel and Jessica. Do you want to share your books? By any chance, I can share a couple. Joel's book is 31 Days to Being a Better Man.
That's it.
And
31 Days to Become a Better Man. And Jessica, what's the name of your book?
Oh, stop it. It's my turn. 31 Daily Challenges for Women.
Fantastic. Right. Yeah. Does anyone have Kevin's actually, Kevin, you spoke up there. Kevin, would you like to share anything yourself directly since you're here? Saw your comment there.
Hey, yeah. Thanks for that. Yeah, so I've taken Joel's class. I think I took it, almost a year ago was my first class. Taken a couple since as good refreshers, and actually he motivated me to kind of find my why as well. I've been a stay-at-home dad for 17 years, so kind of out of the workforce and stuff like that. But everything kind of came to a head and helped me kind of find my why and supporting dads be more present with their kids and families and communities, and supporting me in putting together my own program. And I wrote in there, when Jessica and Joel say they show up and they'll be there, believe me, they show up and they will be there. If you want an accountability, you better be careful if you ask for it, because they will be that accountability that you asked for, want it or not. So, but yeah, just great people, great family, great kids. They're great leaders of their kids. So it's been, a blessing to have met them both. Actually, I haven't met Jessica in person, but looking forward to the DC trip that my wife and I are going to go up to with the Brotherhood and some hiking. And my wife's looking forward to kind of meeting them both as well. So it's not just impacted me, but it's impacted how I show up for my wife, how I show up for my kids, and all aspects.
I think one of the really powerful things about it. Because, so many times we feel like we're alone, we're doing this all on our own. And I think there's certain parts of life that, yeah, you are on your own, but you don't have to be all on your own. And when you're not alone and you're supported in the right ways, it's a little bit easier, and it's a little bit more fun, a little bit more enjoyable. And that's one of the greatest gifts I have from being involved in this program was the connection and making these new connections with other men that are going through it, but are also really good examples, really working on being the best examples of themselves. And I can't tell you how much that in itself is something that really, really.
And John, I got to say, I didn't know he was going to be here on this call, but I've got his book right here. Kevin Blackburn, he's a professional dad. I've never met a better dad. And so he didn't really have a why yet. He's going through a transition. His kids are getting older. And during the course, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, Kevin, you kind of found the direction. He wrote a book. He wrote a program. He's had a ton of men go through it already. It's another 31-day thing. His is the present dad, 31 days to becoming the father your kids need. And I took the course, the first one he offered, and it was phenomenal. So I love that so many of our guys have written books and courses. Pat Smith, who's going to talk later, has written one in our whole ecosphere of 31-day university. So super proud to have guys like this. And the proof is in what you just said, Kevin. You're kind of trying to figure some stuff out. And dude, you are on a path now.
Wow, congratulations, man. That's big stuff. Oh, hey, I might as well announce I'm going to be, I am also in process of my rough draft of my own book is going to be due on June 30th. So we'll be sharing that with all of you very shortly. So
You're unstoppable, John.
I have an unstoppable mindset, at least.
I love it.
I think we all are. It's just a matter of, we all are going to get stopped. I mean, being unstoppable doesn't mean you're not going to run up against obstacles that are maybe going to momentarily stop you. But what it means is that you have set a goal that you're going to achieve, and sometimes you might get delayed. You might get something in your way, but you readjust and you find a way to still accomplish the things that you're that you've set out to do.
Hey, John, you said June 30th, you'll have your book done. So I went to my calendar and I pulled it up. Yep, that's what you promised me. And you told me that on March 28th, while you and I sat at the cigar bar here in Weston, Florida. I document because accountability partner. I will bite down on your arm and you'll finish it because it's your words. You said you're going to do it. So yeah, on June 30th at 5 p.m., my calendar is going to pop up, and so's yours, John. And man, you'll let me down and you'll let yourself down if you don't have it done. It's like 100 for 100, 500 for 5. It doesn't fail. You'd have to be an absolute loser to put it out there to your friends in the program and say, I'm going to do this by this day, and not show up and do it. So John, I got you. It's in the calendar. And for anybody, like I said,
just so you know, the title of the book is called Flipping Boot Camp. So just so you know.
Great.
And, so anyway,
no pressure.
Fantastic, Joel. Thank you so much for your support. So I'm going to move on to Robert. You're going to be in the spotlight next. Robert Syfert, if you're going to be ready to go in about 4 or 5 minutes, I'm going to give you a little bit of a intro as to the tie-in and how I know Robert. So Robert, I have known for about 12 years. One of the first recollections I can have of Robert was during a really, really, really bad part of my life that a lot of you have followed me for a long time knew me. And at that point, I was getting around on foot or by bus. And so I would have a commute that was about 3 hours from Garden City, Michigan to Troy, Michigan. And if you know anything about Metro Detroit, they're not known for having a great bus system, okay? So those buses would break down, they might not show up. And so on one particular day, the bus had broke down. And so I was, I'm still got to go to work. So I was just going to walk the rest of the way. And out of the blue, Tim Perkins called me up, and because he was talking to Rob, he needed some financing on something, and Tim figured I was the guy. So he called me up, and him and Robert ended up meeting me. It's about 4 miles north of me at that moment. They met me at a Myers, Thrifty Acres, and he picked me up. So Rob and I have communicated a bit. Rob has pretty impressive. I'm going to call what you have as a mansion. I mean, anything over 10,000 square foot is a mansion, and it's pretty impressive that he's been building out. So I've known him through his ups and downs. He's also a common thread with Joel and Jessica. He built up a very, very successful business in multiple areas. One in real estate. He did hundreds of transactions and flips and rental properties. And then he also built it up in very large software, I think it's software programming business, and sold that off for millions. And he sold those off, though, to focus on what his real passion is, and that's helping people, helping them change their lives, lift them up, and helping them overcome and hopefully duplicate what he has done. So what I'm going to do real quick, though, is I pulled up his book. He wrote a book called Who Am I? I Am You. And he also has a program called Fit for War. But I think we're going to be talking about his next publication, his next program, mostly today. So these are the past, but they're still a very big part of you. And I have read your book. It was was helpful in my life. I'm just going to do a little clip from that from Audible. And that's Jessica's book. All right. So this is just right at the beginning of his book.
Disclaimer: success is not easy. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord. Plans to prosper you and not to harm you. Plans to give you hope and a future. Jeremiah 29:11. If you're serious about building a life where you consistently live out faith over fear so you can go after any level of success you dream of no matter where you are right now, this book is for you. Get ready, though, because things are about to get real. Time is a precious commodity, and out of respect for your time, I'm going to come out of the gate fast and strong here. We're going to get real pretty quick because you and I have already wasted enough time in our lives. To start this off right, we need to be honest with each other real fast. The saying, "the truth hurts," is spot on, but it's still a solid requirement if you want to figure out what's really holding you back. Smoke screens, fences, walls, fortresses, you name it, all must go. To get where you want to go, to be who you want to be, all of the obstacles must come down. If you want to earn the success, the reward, the results you've been dreaming of and praying for, you're going to have to get real, real fast.
All right, and I'll just stop there. Robert, just to the book was really moving for me. I've actually listened to it twice, and it was really helpful. And what I found powerful in your approach too is that we were talking about the mind-body link connection, and actually we kind of stole his name for the program. Robert, if you want to unmute yourself for a minute here, and I'll tie into you. What is the name of your the program that you're launching?
The new book is Focus on You. I don't have the subtitle created yet, but it's Focus on You, which I'll cover today, is the mind, body, and spirit version of you, the trinity that exists within who you are, the unstoppable, limitless potential that you have if you'll just tap into it. And thanks for playing that book. It started to bring a tear to me because I haven't listened to my own book in years, and I know what led to the writing of that book and what's leading to the writing of the next one, and that just cemented something that I've been going through over the last couple of days and starting the chapters and draft of this next book.
Wow. One of the things I really appreciate with you, Rob, is you've always had this genuine humility and at the same realness when you talk. It's just totally authentic. And so I'm just gonna turn. Do you mind if I just turn this right over to you and you can just start sharing what you'd like to share?
Yeah, I appreciate that. I'm going to start a little different than I planned to, since you played that chapter in the book and it struck something. And the description that you gave sounds amazing. Built this company and sold this one, and built that company and sold that one. And sitting in a 10,000 square foot custom build that I found in foreclosure and took out of the ruins and crafted around and hopefully will end in an amazing story that is still yet to fully unfold. What he didn't share in that, and I will share because I do only speak from a place of honesty and truth and facts, which triggered when you played that part of the book. The truth sometimes hurts, but the truth is nothing but a foundational fact of where you are. And you'll see when we get to the end of what I want to share with you all today in some actions, unless we face and focus on the truth and the truth is the double-edged sword, right? It is not only the truth of the negative things that you want to avoid about yourself, but it's also the truth of just how powerful you truly are if you allow yourself to be, if you allow this limitless potential to come out of you. And so the truth is, behind all of that are horror stories and bankruptcy filings and foreclosure notices and year to 2 year long legal battles that are financially draining. And similar to the story I heard before and hearing a lot of Jessica and Joel's story, losing everything multiple times. Actually, the catalyst of writing that first book came off of the back end of one of those journeys of making millions, but then losing millions and then rebuilding into another thing and then being in a place to feel comfortable and confident enough to write the story of how I got through all of that and the mindset that led through it and the clarity that I could have in what got there. So I wanted to start with that because first and foremost, that all sounds great, right? When you hear that part, don't mistake that, just like people before, that a great story on the surface that looks really cool on social media and is wonderful for pictures doesn't tell or depict the whole story of the challenges and struggles and the as I'll share today, what I call the daily war, the picking up your cross, as you will, and surrendering every single day to what's going on in the circumstances, but still having to have the mindset and mental fortitude to move forward regardless of those things. So there's a few quotes that I have on my board that sit here, and I constantly have these whiteboards all over my office. There's things that I get to look at. They're things that keep me focused on what matters, remind me of what to subtract, and from my life to focus on the things that matter. So constantly getting erased, but there are a few that have stood and they just can't erase them off the board. I don't know if they're just not fully fulfilled yet or what they are, but I want to start with sharing these because I think that they somewhat set the tone of everything that I want to say. I think I'll be pretty quick within the timeline you gave me and open any questions anyone has on any of this. So first and foremost is one right here in my face. When you're willing to do what's required, you will finally get what you want. A very simple truth. Next one is the money that you're leaving on the table is the focus that you're not giving to the one thing that matters most. It'll tie in later when I talk about most of us are looking for things to add to our life or to perform or to do better or to seek more. And the reality is 9 times out of 10, there is so much more that you need to subtract from your life that is keeping you from what you actually want in any area of your life, whatever it is. And the last quote is conversations are the fastest path to cash and complexity fails where simplicity scales. All of these quotes for me all summarize the same thing, how to subtract. And today, I'm not here to add more to your plate, just like that says. I'm actually here to help you figure out how to subtract. So you can finally focus on the one thing that will actually change everything. And share a little bit more. He shared a lot of the pieces of the story and a couple pivotal moments. I mean, my previous book has a lot of pivotal moments, so I'll skip all of that, but it kind of opened the stage for where I was. And I was at a height of having all of those companies, businesses, brands, 70 staff in employment at the software company, starting to build this house. COVID hit around the same time, which delayed the drafting and releasing of the book, which a lot of you can all understand and appreciate. We all lived through that, which is another interesting point, right? We all lived through that. And it wasn't until while all that's happening, those are all the great sides of the story. Even from that book until now, there's been 2 massive lawsuits I've been involved in. Let's just say I have a very fancy education built in how law works extensively. both in business and in personal life, to the tune of multiple six figures. Nothing that I did wrong, just defending those things that I did right, and the mindset of won't quit. All of that led to a place of, getting through all of those navigations, moving through all of those things, letting go and purging and subtracting from my life some of the businesses that didn't fuel or serve what I felt called to do, which was primarily coach and help other people do what was best for them. Now, I will even say there's new things that I'm back into and involved. No surprise for me. Real estate is a business that I'm actively involved in again. Tech is a part of that, which I think they're all just part of my blueprint and part of what I'm called to do. And the more clear I get in subtracting all the noise that's in the way of that, I can find clarity. I'm going to give you some things that I'm working on within this new book that will help you today, that are just pieces of the puzzle. But this all began for me a year ago. Backing up several years ago, at the time, before one of the lawsuits in the biggest company that I had that I thought we were going to 10x, brought in a $250,000 a year mentor to 10x that business specifically. And then right after that decision was met with a lawsuit with my partner at the time that we thought we were done with a buyout that took 3 months to structure. Turned out he thought trying to bankrupt me was a good idea to steal everything. It didn't work out in his favor, but it didn't really work out in my favor either. I say that to say and set the layer that a year ago, so that mentorship didn't work out the way that it was expected to. I learned a lot. He helped me navigate the troubles and challenges I was going through. A lot of what I do is speaking the truth and living by a code, as we call it, living a warrior's way, came from the man who created that movement and everything that came with that. About a year ago, I found myself, I basically went on a mental downslide for a year, letting go and purging some things from my life, not really caring, gaining a bunch of weight because I like to eat when I stress, or at least found that was one of my problem go-to things. I put on a bunch of weight after being in the best shape of my life 5 years ago. However, there was a moment where I had made a decision that I was going to change things. It's about last June or July. And I started down this path. It's 280 something plus pounds at the time, currently 240 as of today, and moving in a direction of where I'm headed ultimately. I got a reach out from that previous mentor, a new room that he was developing, a brotherhood that was very elite and very special. I instantly jumped on the opportunity, which led to a new piece of the puzzle, I would say. I think that the universe, God, Christ, whatever it is you believe in, always works in our benefit and to our will, and we just prevent and block that voice that's inside of us from telling us what to do, or that it just couldn't possibly be that easy, so I got to figure out 10 more ways to do it. In that decision, there was a new process that he led us through in around July. And I started on this path. Now I've done this thing called stacking. We have a thing inside the Warrior's Way called attacking with the stack. It's basically a process and a tool for renewing your mind. Think of it like accelerated journaling is the best way I could explain it if you've never done it. However, this was a new way on top of that had been developed. And so we were doing this, and I went, and this is the catalyst to everything you're about to hear about Focus on You. It came through these stacks, and these stacks are essentially, the style of them is a framework for it is word, wisdom, work, wealth. And basically what that means is get into God's word, whatever the scripture says, read it. You're only looking for extracting wisdom. You stack it, which is a tool to process what came up for you in the thoughts. What's the wisdom that you're extracting from what you just learned? What work do you see that you need to do from that? Ultimately, that is the most fruitful, wealthy things that you could do. Wealth not being just money, but physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, in your marriage. It's everything. It's this, and this idea of this new book came. By the way, I'm a visionary. I'm very aggressive and persistent. You don't accidentally build businesses quick or fast. So my idea when it came up was, cool, I'm going to launch this book along with this thing and this course, and it's all going to be done by this date. And this is the date it's all going live. That was December. And things were moving very fast and rapid in that motion. 120 straight days of doing this process in a row led to none of that is going to happen right now. None of that is being launched. There's still work that you personally have to do on this breakthrough and transformation that I'm leading you through. And you're going to continue to focus on you, not from a position of selling something to people, but from a position, and I'm just thinking, how fast can I turn this into a profitable business that serves people as the foundation, but nonetheless a profitable business? Turned into, no, there's still more work to do. There's still more revelations to be had. The book, interestingly, or divine timing, depending on how you look at it, is now back in motion and being written as of yesterday with the clarity of it's time to start writing. Now you have the material. Now you've caused some of the things to happen. Now you've surrendered in a way that you need to surrender. It's time to write the chapters. And Focus on You, again, is not about adding more things to your life. It's just about ruthlessly subtracting what doesn't serve your ultimate purpose. And all of us have a unique and ultimate purpose, I believe. In it, what I've identified or have been shown or revealed to me is something I call the trifecta of transformation, or a trident approach, just like certain symbolic things like that. But very simply said, it's pray, train, lead. Pray, train, lead. This is the focus on you. These are the three areas that you need to have focus on in you that will fix everything outside of you. And it's in chasing everything outside of you that limits your ability to actually have what it is you want. There's another saying somewhere else that is, the thing that you chase the most is the thing that will run from you. I've heard some gurus and coaches say, if you chase money, it runs from you. But if you attract money, it comes to you. And you're attracting it by who you are. Everything, your marriage, your business, your health, it's all based on your foundational habits and who you are. So this core principle of focus on you and pray, train, lead that has come loud is pray. It's the first step, right? It's the Holy Spirit. You're essentially surrendering and letting go of the need for performance for other people. Your need to please people, your need to impress people, your need to perform for whatever reason to feel loved or worthy. And you stop seeking validation and actually start seeking purpose. So your life becomes purpose-driven. So you submit, you surrender, give up. And that's really the last piece that came very clear over the last 7 days, mostly for me in some of this journey that I do. Then you train, right? I've already heard it said a couple times. Obviously, John's over here training for a freaking crazy, ridiculous 100-mile run. Kudos to you. I know that is never going to be part of my purpose-driven life that I'm aware of. Hopefully it never does, because I don't even want to run a mile, let alone 100. However, I do like to train physically. So, and training is, you were given a body. You have a temple here on earth, right? And that temple is your body. How you treat it is how it's going to treat you. Again, it's what you're doing that mirrors back to everything you have. So taming your body to clear your mind. You exhaust your body so that you can still the chaos that's within your mind. You have a lot of chatter going on. 9 times out of 10, I think it's said that there's like 50 or 60,000 words and conversations that we have with ourselves daily. Most of that is highly negative in nature. Your doubts, your worries, your concerns. Am I worthy? How will they receive this? What will other people think? Shame, guilt, judgment, all that plays in. But as you exhaust the body, in my experience, as you sweat out these impurities within you, your body is, by that exhaustion, is able to tame the mind or still the chaos that's within you. And so physical training, to me, is an essential component to any ability to break through any mental barrier that you have or to unlock any next level that you're searching for. And then lead. First, you're led through surrender and discipline that allow you to be led into this place inside of you. Then from that place, you're able to finally lead your family that is reflecting back to you who you are, by the way. So anything you have a problem with in life right now is not a rejection from them, is not an example of you not performing enough. It's an example of who you are. If your life looks chaotic on the outside, it's because you're chaotic in the inside. If you're being rejected by people in the outside world, it's because you're rejecting some component of you. And so as you surrender and discipline yourself, you then, focusing on you, will have the ability to lead your family, your business, your community, and walk the path that you've been chosen to walk for yourself. And so, again, just reminding this common theme of the power of subtraction, right? Gary Keller wrote a great book that I've read a few times. The one thing, how it aligns, and it's aligned with biblical principles and focus of simplicity. Pareto's principle compounds on this of the 80-20 and the 4% within that if you 80-20 it a few times. And it's the one thing that drives everything else. This alignment with the idea that God created everything in threes: Father, Son, Holy Spirit. There's one essence though, and that's you. And in you, you have the Holy Trinity, the Holy Trinity of your physical body, your spiritual and mental well-being, and your mind, the thoughts that you run with and operate off of. Your mind are thoughts that become words that then lead to actions or inactions that produce results or lack of results in your life. It's really that simple. And everything else gets in our way of clouding that. And so this transformation, this walk I'm on, this daily war, this war path that I call, it doesn't come from constantly adding new strategies. If anything, all I've been shown is this pruning and preparation of removing relentlessly everything that's in the way of the path, surrendering every material item. Like, John, you probably find it funny. We're actually about to list this house for sale. I may not even finish the whole flip because I don't know that that's what I'm supposed to do anymore. So there's a lot of crazy things happening there, but it's because of this process of what else do I need to let go of? What else do I need to surrender? What else am I doing for possibly someone else's validation or of approval or of who I am? And I don't need any of that. And so, like, that's just a part of it. I'm continually rebuilding this discipline, right? Like, it takes a lot to run 100 miles. I can only imagine the blueprint for that. For me, over the last few months, this has been waking up to go train with my retired NFL pro buddy at 4:30 in the morning, which sounds ridiculous as I even say that out loud, but it's a new discipline with new habits that needed to be cemented to transform who I am. And it's changed everything. It's continued to drop fat, build muscle at 48 years old. That's unheard of. Unless you're very, very focused on who you are and you are disciplined in the habits of how you fuel your body and you care enough. And it's reignited my faith. Now, you heard in the first book, scripture and faith. It's been a big component of my whole story, and it became very clear when I wrote that book, and it's why there's so much of that in there. But over the last few years, there is no other option. And over the last few months, there's been reignited at a level that I can't even describe in words at this moment. And I have clients that are doing the same thing, they're transforming their lives right now simply by subtracting the noise, focusing on one discipline at a time that revolutionizes their lives. It's almost always the amount of stuff they've added and trying to form.
You know, I really, you really sparked something in me, a memory, is that some of my success that I've had, you know, if you compare the volume, I used to do every kind of loan there ever was, right? And what I found was, though, is that, you know, when you have that many different things that you're doing, you're probably not great at any of them. You're just okay. You're doing a good job. So when we made the decision, we're just going to do investment property and focus on helping builders' needs and real estate investors, my business skyrocketed from that. Just really took off. And it was because we were able to focus on and just do a better job. Yeah, it's a much smaller part of that pie, but they know where to go. But also there was a direction for myself, you know? And so like, and I think that's so many, what you said is so true, that sometimes we just put too many things on the plate. So we need to cut down to what is really important and then pay attention to that. So, I mean, I think that's huge value. And then also the recognition to what I really enjoy about you and your approach is that you said, you know, it wasn't time yet, that wasn't in the plan. And basically what you're saying is that you want this book to be authentic. You can't be a phony. And you're just like, I'm not there yet. I can't put this out there because I need to live this. I need to do it. I need to make it real. And I think that's just a testimony to who you are, that you needed to be that real in order to do it. And, you know, yeah, good stuff. I've been following you for a while. I see the things you do online, but of course, you know, on Facebook, you know, you only get so much of a true picture.
Yep.
But, you know, I just really enjoyed your honesty and sharing here. So we're right about the time where we had on the schedule. So I'm just going to see if anybody, can you stick around to the end to answer any questions?
Yeah,
We're
absolutely.
going to tie right in onto Pat, to trying to honor everybody's time schedule I gave to everyone. So I want to say a warm welcome, Pat. Hello.
Good afternoon, everybody.
Good afternoon, Pat. So Pat is a certified trainer, or has been certified trainer with Joe Dispenza, Dr. Joe Dispenza, which I don't know if you know anything about Joe Dispenza, but absolutely remarkable a teacher, and the things that he teaches about the mind and about how we can overcome so many things, like basically that we're really a product of our thoughts. And Pat led a program that I decided to take in January called Bulletproof Mindset. And I'm going to have to say that that was one of the best I mean, I think it was $99 at the time. It was about the best $99 I ever spent. I mean, you really put together a really great program, Pat. I really,
Thank you for
enjoyed
that.
it. And I mean, it was, at first I was thinking when I entered it, well, maybe this is gonna be more of the same, but it was really different. It really stood out because, your focus, I found it useful like every day. I got so much out of it. And, welcome to being here this afternoon and joining us for this. What I was going to ask is that you used to start the program for everyone, and when we would have the class, would you mind taking us through that beginning again for us?
Sure. Yeah, there's a few different things that I always shared. I think the majority of our times that we'd have calls were early in the morning, so individuals are just getting started with their day, but I also feel it's beneficial here, obviously, in the middle of the day as well. And that is just taking a moment to get centered and utilize our breath to come back to out of the chaos. As you know, I'm fortunate to be able to go before Jessica and Joel, and then of course Robert. As we talk about like the chaos of the mind, it can really go a million different miles at once. And so what I like to do with all the sessions that I lead, whether that's here, a small little webinar, or with my one-on-one clients or any other thing that I lead, is just take a moment to come into our breath. Because for me, what I've learned through a lot of the work that I do is there's a level of heart and brain coherence that can get activated through the breath itself, sending those physiological signals for us to slow down and actually, as Robert said, focus on one thing at once instead of being a million miles all over. So if everybody's open to that, I'll just invite you to just sit back, relax, get comfortable for a moment. If you feel comfortable, you can close down your eyes. If not, just gaze down. And our intention here is just to come into noticing the inhale through the nose. So we'll just do this slowly. So I invite you to get comfortable. You can roll your shoulders down, drop your shoulders away from your ears, relax your face, your eyes, your jaw. Just to notice the breath flowing in the nose and out the nose. And the inhale through the nose, that nose breathing, activating the sympathetic or parasympathetic to get us to calm down a little bit, and out the nose. And one unique mechanism that I incorporate often for my clients and for myself is called heart coherent breathing. So on the next inhale, I want you to envision breathing the air into the heart area. So filling up the heart and chest area on the inhale and letting it flow out of that same area on the exhale. Do it again briefly on the inhale, letting it flow out of the heart on the exhale. Now this time we're going to elongate just a little bit. So breathing in through the nose for 4 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4. Equal parts out through the nose for 1, 2, 3, 4. Continue on the same pattern and cadence. No need to count. Just equal parts slow in, equal parts slow out. Allow that air to fill up the heart and chest area like a balloon on the inhale. Deflating out of the heart and chest area like a balloon on the exhale. And continue to keep the same pattern and cadence. What I want you to know is by simply bringing your attention into awareness to slowed breathing, it sends signals to the heart to slow down the sympathetic nervous system, which has mirror neurons from the heart to the brain, also slow down the mind. So if you're ever in a state of mind chatter, going a million miles an hour, coming back to the heart will relay those messages to the brain, slow down. And just take a couple deep final cleansing breaths. We'll do a big breath in through the nose, holding it briefly at the top. Exhale out of the mouth, sighing out any stress or tension that you need to release. Once more, big breath in through the nose, holding it briefly at the top, and letting it out of the mouth with a sigh and exhale. When you're ready, simply come back to the present moment. Do a little wiggle of the toes, wiggle of the hands, wiggle of the feet. And I share that, as I said, to get us back here into the present moment. If you're anything like me, and I'm assuming just about every one of us on this call, if we actually wrote down all of the things that we've already done and up until this moment at 1:12 p.m. Eastern time, I can imagine the list is like this. And the more that we add on to that list, the more we lose our focus up here. And so as John mentioned, my specific story and my program and what I work with individuals on is specifically on mental performance and emotional resilience in the workplace. For me, that has been the biggest lever to create the successful life that I have now. And as Jessica and Joel has said, and Robert has said, it wasn't always this way. And so for me, I'll share a quick backstory about what got me to this point, and of course, all of the peaks and valleys that were associated with that. And then I also want to share a few things in particular on how we can learn to approach mind and emotional resilience in a way that can actually serve us and allow us to move forward. I love what Robert said earlier about the, detracting more than instead of adding. I like to call it the parachute effect. Is like many of us think we're going full steam ahead at our goals, and then we don't realize we've got this parachute attached to our back, which are all of these mental and emotional blocks that are way behind us. And we feel like we are operating at 100%. Oh my gosh, I'm giving it all. And we think we need to do more and more and more and run faster. When in reality, if we just cut some of those emotional ties, some of those mental blocks, I can guarantee it's not the effort that's lacking. It's a lot of that. It's the parachute effect. And so we'll talk about a little bit about that as well. But for me, I want to share, like I said, my story. I am now a high performance coach for men specifically, and I work with business owners, business executives. I've worked with actors, professional athletes. But again, this is all the Instagram worthy things that aren't all just, they're just surface level, right? They don't really mean anything because it's what actually got me to this point is what matters. And so through let's say 13 to 24-ish, 25, I found myself masking all of my mental struggles and emotional struggles with drugs and alcohol to the point of all I did was utilize drugs and alcohol as a mask, and it turned into an addiction. And that ended up with me hitting rock bottom. When I finally hit rock bottom, which was very tail end of graduating college, I realized that I had to step in and do something different. Now, I started working in the corporate world, and I had let go of all of those things that had been holding me back for a really long time. And I started to work on this itself, my mindset. And honestly, I thought, oh man, I've been reading some of these books and I've been journaling and things are going really, really well. And then about a year later, after leaving my full-time job, moving to Charlotte, North Carolina to live with my cousin passed away the day I moved down and moved in with him. And at that time, I thought that I had made tremendous growth mentally and emotionally, when in reality, I had nothing to go back to, and I went right back to all the same habits and things that I had been using to cover up my mental and emotional struggles for a really long time. After a short period of time, relatively speaking, about 6 months, I finally realized the trajectory of my life was only going a couple ways, as you can imagine, and I needed to make and take extreme ownership over my life. And as Robert talked about earlier, as Jessica and Joel mentioned earlier, it's I could either play victim and then go down that path, and that would be the life that I would still be living now, or I can look in the mirror, be honest with myself, and start to take some initiative. And when I did, that's when this whole personal development journey for me went wide open. This is when I started to dive into subconscious rewiring, meditation, which, as John mentioned, as a trainer for Joe Dispenza, that's what we talk about deeply, is what it's like to actually truly change from the inside out. And for me, I leverage this to be able to be better in all areas of my life. That's physically, mentally, emotionally, professionally, spiritually, in my relationships. And it's what led me to, within 6 to 7 years in all my corporate roles, to be able to move into roles such as being on the path for vice president or being on the path for national sales manager. However, what I realized was throughout that whole process was this there was a bigger mission, there was a bigger purpose. And I love that Robert, again, I'm going to go back to this because it's like he read what I knew what I was going to talk about today. It was like there was always a deeper purpose between that. It wasn't about me making more money and hitting more goals, which were all amazing. And at the same time, it was this what I call the success paradox. It was the idea that I thought once I hit this level or this level or this level, all of a sudden my stress would all go away and all of a sudden I'd be fully happy. And then it didn't, right? And if anybody's been there, they know that. And so,
Absolutely.
yeah, so we get to those points, but what the one biggest thing that led me to what I do today is seeing that there was a huge missing component, because all of the men that I had worked with and all of the companies, the different companies, Fortune 1000 companies that I had worked with, all measured their success specifically on how much they made and the status. And the problem with that is they were continued to look for external solutions to deal with internal struggles. They were looking for the money, they were looking for the status, they were looking for all these things to actually not feel for the lack of not being good enough or not being worthy enough in them. And it creates this constant cycle. And we hear burnout, that's all it typically is. And so eventually I decided enough was enough. I knew that if I kept in the same role that I was going at, I could climb the ladder. I could make tons of money. I mean, by 30, again, this is just putting it in perspective. I was making multiple six figures by 30, which means that by 40, I was probably going to be making tons of money, but that wasn't the goal. And I pulled the plug. And I eventually decided enough was enough. And I wanted to be the guy to help individuals master their internal world, because for me, our mind and our emotions play a role in every single thing we do. Yes, I absolutely love to work out and train. I absolutely like to build my business. I like to have great relationships. But the common denominator between all of those is this and us. And so when we can leverage that, that's when I feel like the true, true us can come out. And so, I'm sorry, I thought I heard somebody. Yeah, so all that to be said, I like to start with three main core foundations, and that is the internal mastery level is what I like to talk about. So first and foremost is emotional regulation, right? That is our nervous system and getting that in tune for us to build a firm foundation. Because without that in place, most likely when stress comes at you, when life throws you a curveball, it's a shaky foundation and you will always default back to your old patterns. So when we can learn to master the emotional regulation, we can handle all different things and build resilience from that. Next comes the mindset, right? And so when I talk about the mindset, I like to think of it as a rowboat, right? If your mind and your emotional, your nervous system is like a rowboat, and you have 10 guys on there and they're all rowing at a different time, you just go in circles all day long. And you're wondering, why the heck can't I get towards my goals? When in reality, if you learn to, we just used a practice that you can take with you. So I hope all of you do, or some form of it if you aren't already. You can come back to your breath and it will start to get those guys who are the rowers in sync. And I can tell you, when this thing's in order and this thing's in order, everything outside of your life will take take place that much easier. And I heard Robert say that, which I was like, okay, yes, exactly. And so the goal with all of that is not for, as I shared earlier, is, many of the individuals that I have worked with and have been a part of, and some of the clients that I even focus on, they find themselves on this scale, which is rich in money, but poor in happiness. And the goal is not to just have one or the other, it's to have both. And so it starts from within. And so I'm gonna share one real quick thing. So all that to be said is I like to take this inside out approach, as I've talked about already. And to me, it's really important to create the true, real deep transformation, not just habits, but true identity upgrades, because to me, that's going to be the ripple effect in all other areas of life. And so, what I coach on primarily is the ability to build these as long-term skills to help individuals evolve from each specific season of life, knowing that these are lifelong skills that we can get out of. And so, for me and what I do full time is, of course, as John shared, I have a 31-day program as well. So shout out to Joel, Jessica. The 31-day program that I run is 31 days to build a bulletproof mindset for business and life. It is a very introspective program where we dive deeper than most programs, because to me, the real work begins when we get this in order, as I've mentioned. And so it's a self-paced program where we go through 31 days of specific challenges to take you from a deeper level of awareness to creating true habit formation within the mind and eventually mental and emotional resilience. And just like Joel, I offer a $200, it's $200, and I offer a full money back guarantee because after starting this program less than 5 months ago, we've taken over, I believe it's 30 plus men through it. And I'm fully confident that this is something that can change any individual's life if and when they put the work in and take it seriously, as a little caveat. Outside of that, I of course do private mentorship one-on-one, and I also have a specific 6-week training course called the Mental Performance Accelerator, which is my version in conjunction with the work that I do with Dr. Joe Dispenza that really allows individuals to create a brand new operating system from the inside out. And so a little bit about me, a little bit about what I do, a little bit about my philosophy. And the other thing that I'm going to share at the very end here, and I'm going to share it on my screen, that way you can have it, is, let me pull it up real quick. So should be able to see this. Good to go. All right. So if you have any interest in getting in contact with me, or I can send any of you my free resources to you, I would love for you just to, you can scan this QR code or send you to my phone number, LinkedIn, Instagram, whatever you feel is easiest for you to get in contact with me. Send me the word mindset and I'll chat with you to send you in the best possible direction, whether that's you just want something for free, you want to start implementing on your own, or you have interest in any of the programs that I mentioned. So I want to be conscious of time. I know I had about 20 minutes, so a couple minutes short. However, open for questions and answers. And if anybody has any comments or things they'd want to share on, I'd love to offer any help or support I can.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. Yeah. So we're actually, I can open it up to everyone now since we're the last speaker.
Cool.
So anyone who would like to have any one-on-one dialogue or questions, even amongst yourselves, the guests, I mean, Robert and Pat, seeing each other's programs to dive just a little bit deeper into it. If anyone would like to have anything, I don't see any questions at the moment.
I'll share one more thing, and I just want to point out what Robert said, and I thought it was really important, is, he talks about his whiteboards, and to me, I think it's like a principle that I feel that's so important. It's the 30-50-80 rule, which is we remember 30% of what we hear, 50% of what we write down, and 80% of what we teach. And so the more we can not just read a book, but then take action on it, like Robert said, write it down, and then have to see it, and then be able to then bring what he wrote down into this process, is this building this model of understanding to make it easier for us to go back to. Because if we don't do that, oftentimes we're just going to default right back to the old patterns and not go through with what we said we were going to do. Because, right, words talk is cheap, as they say. And so actually putting it into practice, understanding it, and letting the body take its natural course is taking the information from the mind, putting it down on paper and implementing. You do that enough times over, I can guarantee whatever you're working to do will naturally progress into the level of success that you want. So I want to point that out because I meant to say that, and I love that he does that because I also have this big whiteboard with tons of notes and stuff. And there's something to be said in terms of the subconscious mind of just being able to witness that it's there right in front of you. It definitely bleeds in. So, anyways, for
Thank,
what it's worth.
thank you, Pat. So we got Andre raises his
Yep.
hand. So yeah, go ahead, Andre.
Hey, thanks, guys. Andres Escobar, and questions for Robert. I just got to commend you. I thank you so much for leading with your faith, and it's it's refreshing. And I just really interested in your walk, and at what point did you start that? Because mending and bringing together your faith with your business is commendable. You don't see it very often. And so, a lot of Christian men need to rise up and become stronger men. And I think like, I want to know what your passion is and how are you, what is your thing that you're going after right now? It's a lot of questions I just asked you, but, I don't know if you can dissect what I asked and, help us out here.
100%. I get all of it. I receive all of it. And I totally understand what you're saying. It kind of, while it seems like a lot of questions, it's really rooted in one, right? And I agree. I think that, so I have a couple phases to the answer. I've believed for a long time that there's something more powerful than us. I think I'll call it an advantage at this point after seeing so many people in so many different coaching environments and masterminds and all that I wasn't raised in any religion. And I say advantage because in my experience with most other people that are raised in a religion, they're taught all this, like, you're wrong, you're bad, that's not what it says. And yet they're being told that by the person who's doing the same wrong thing. As it's said in scripture, they're great at calling out the plank in the sliver in your eye, but not the plank in their own. And so I didn't have that, right? And I was brought through the belief that a God existed. And that's one level, right? Like, okay, I believe it. Yay. And then even to the level of like, and I confess Jesus Christ as it says in the Bible, so therefore I'm saved. Yay. That's not the end of the work. Yes, you're saved. 100%. His blood saved you. And you can accept that. But that doesn't make you not a slave to the world and the things that are being bombarded on you. And I think worse now than ever before, to your point. So where it got very deep for me the first time was the first book. So the first book started off as a book that I wanted to write on a financial journey and like breaking down the ups and downs of that. And the book got flipped upside down and rewrote because the Spirit guided me and said, no, that's not the story. Here's the story. And there's literally a scriptural quote in every chapter because it was clear. And it became clear to me looking backwards. Oh, I had faith all the time. I just didn't really, I knew what that was from a surface level encyclopedia definition, but I walked it and didn't recognize that that's what I walked. And now these whispers have become clear what they were. And so that put me on a path in 2020, 21 that was like, okay, I'm way deeper into wanting to understand this at a level of how do I put this in my business? And so honestly, that's what led to the lawsuit I mentioned in one of the businesses, was because we merged massive companies to go huge. And I realized we didn't walk the same walk. And that was it. So that was I stand a firm line, and that line is very simple. It's truth. Not my truth, your truth, the bullshit truth that people talk about. No, the actual factual truth. Like there is no ambiguity in what truth is. And so I walk a very hard line. Some people find it, to your point, like, oh, you can't do that. I just backed out of a real estate deal as an example because I found out that the salesperson on the side of a partnership deal we were doing lied to his buyer to get him to sign the contract. They said, well, I just canceled the whole deal. You can't do that. I massaged the story. What's wrong with that? I said, you just basically said you lied. I do not operate that way. And while you may not understand that that's how my business operates, it's what I'm building. And so now Focus on You has been the Savage Brotherhood that I joined, the Bible was being pushed further into the Bible and the Word than ever before in a new process, something we'd already been doing for 10 years. We just weren't going focused that much into, I won't even call it Christian, although that's a term a lot of people understand, but even in the Christian reality of religion, there's a ton of all over the place. So I would say I'm a disciple of Christ. Well, what does that mean? It means he put his spirit inside of me, like it says in God's word, not what any man told me, not what anyone else says, what me reading the Bible and what it actually says in there when I read it. And so that's my path. And everything I'm building around Focus on You and why it's taking so long, to John's point, yeah, it's real. I couldn't launch just the blueprint I seen and known. He's making me walk a line of obedience. And I literally every morning, including this morning, do this thing called a prayer stack and ask what you want me to do today. I'm not going to do anything you don't tell me to do anymore. I'm done.
Your passion and comes through loud.
I mean, this is what I walk every day.
Yeah. I love it. Robert, can I ask one more? You don't know me, but I'm about to build my third podcast. And the podcast is going to be Grit, Grace, and Growth. And where I would love to interview you as a entrepreneur that's impacting the world with faith.
Yeah, I would love to be on it. I love the title already. Grit, Grace, and Growth. 100%.
That's 100%, right? You know what I mean?
Love
it. Dude, awesome, man. I appreciate it, Robert. Thank you for being on here. And John, thank you for having all the guys here. And I love all your stuff you talked about. Thank you.
I want to let everyone know, my sincere thanks for everyone being here. I really hope that everyone could find some takeaways here that they can use. All four of our guests have programs that you can avail yourself of. And one of the things I didn't tie in is like what the 100-mile race has done for me. Well, what it added to me was, in order to do something like that, and why did I set it so huge, is because I knew that the purpose for setting that goal was I needed to change things about me, and I needed something so severe that it would force me to make changes everywhere. And it has. I mean, it is, when I say it's a work in progress, guys, it really is. I'm still missing the mark here and there, but I have become more disciplined. I have become more organized. I have become more aware. And for that reason, most areas of my life have vastly improved. So I'll let other people be the judge of that. But one thing it has done is create a new relationship with myself too. And that I often did things in order to get approval or to have someone, a lot of times in my life, I've been other people's hero because that's what gave me validation or value. And really for the first time now, I'm trying to be my own, like I'm trying to be for me. And so I set this here because I'm going to show to myself that I'm worth it, that I'm worth making these changes for me. I deserve to have this life, to have these relationships. And so for me, that's sort of one of the things that it means. And also I'm hoping that it may inspire others to say, man, if he can go from where it was to this, what can I do? What is my big mountain that I can't climb? What is my 100-mile race, if you will? And, set your own goal. And I encourage you to set something that maybe is out there, but if you start working at it every day, if someone else has done it, you probably can do it too. One of the quotes that saved my life at another point in my life, and I've had seemingly many different moments in my life like that, was from a movie. But he said, the quote is, "What one man can do, another man can do." So all you need to do is follow what they did. And I think it goes in line too, Robert, from the scriptures too. It's like what you sow is you'll reap, and God's not one to be mocked. So if we do the work towards a certain intent, we will get the result. What we can't control necessarily is when we'll get the result, when it will happen. But you will get a result from the things you do. That's just the way things work. You're muted, Robert. But I see you're
I
trying to.
was just gonna say yes, divine timing. It just came up in my stack this morning that trust his timing, not yours. Let it go.
Absolutely. And I value, so much reading your book and Pat, the relationships I created in the business course. I mean, I'm still talking to Alex, you know,